hoax. I was working in the shop one day when, of all things, a coiled air hose similar to this one here got me thinking about reincarnation. Well, how so? Well, because reincarnation is usually pictured as a circle, like that. Circle because it's got no beginning and no end. And you'll have your birth up here, and then you live, and then you die. So you've got, and then after that you get reincarnated. So reincarnation, you live, you die, reincarnated, you live, you die, so on and so forth. And it's called the cycle of life. And I thought to myself, well, you know, maybe, perhaps more accurately, it should be depicted as a spiral, as a coil. So what I did is I took an air hose and I drew on it, put some tape on it, put some colored lines on it. So here would be black for death, and there's being reborn again, reincarnated, and there's your life. And it would go something like this. And I thought, well, that's a pretty nice little illustration there, don't you think? I think they ought to take up the coil or a spiral as being a way to illustrate the concept of reincarnation, because it shows progress over time and over generations to nirvana. Okay, but then I got to thinking about it, like I do, and I thought, you know, maybe that's not quite so accurate after all. There may be a better way to describe this. I thought, why does death have the same segment of the circle as reincarnation in life? In fact, why does reincarnation, doesn't that happen in an instant? So then again, I thought, well, perhaps more accurately, it should be something like that. I don't know how well that's showing up there, but basically reincarnation, death, because they happen in an instant, just like that. Bang! They're actually the same event. Reincarnation, death, and the rest of the circle is your life. So then I thought, okay, let's make it more accurate. So it's actually a spiral like this, right? And up here is your nirvana. And you go through a death, reincarnation, death, reincarnation, and all these are your lives along here. And you're progressing upwards like that, right? Well, I think that makes a lot more sense. But then I thought, well, we know that karma, or it's taught that karma, can be both good and bad. There's good karma, there's bad karma. And you can, I believe, if I understand it correctly, that with this karma, after you die, that you could be reincarnated into a lower life form or a lower caste in society, or, you know, you suffer the effects of bad karma. So then I thought, okay, well, none of these are quite so accurate then. And I came up with a different idea. And you can imagine what this one looks like. You're spiraling up one generation, then you go down, then you go up and down, and you know, you end up with something that looks like that. In other words, your progress is going up sometimes and it's going down other times. My big problem with karma and with reincarnation is that you've got no recollection from one lifespan to the next. And even within your lifespan, you can do an action that is by itself on the surface bad. I went and stole something from the store. That's bad. Now you get bad karma. But I did it for good reasons. I did it for a good intention. Oh, then it's not bad karma, you get good karma. But here's where it gets difficult. In the human person, we can rationalize and justify just about anything. So, is it really good, or is it actually very bad? What is it? How do we know? It seems to me that it actually gets really hard for us to tell for ourselves, or even for others to tell for us, if we're making progress or not. So then, another thing came to mind. Here I am working on the machine, and I've got a chip collection. I thought, well, maybe it all looks like that. Now there's one single steel chip. It's all twisted and gnarly. Maybe that's what the cycle of life looks like. It's not really a cycle at all. It's a big old knot. And I thought, well, it could be, but because you really don't have that feedback. You always have to have feedback. If you want to make progress, you've got to get feedback. That's why teachers give you quizzes and tests, and that's why you do a self-evaluation or an examination of conscience at the end of the day and things like that. You go, did I do good today? Did I do bad? How am I going? I thought maybe for some people it kind of looks something like that. And I thought perhaps other people are a little more fortunate, and they just seem to fall into the right mode of living their lives, one life after another. So their life cycle thing would look more like this chip. You know, here's another chip, same material, same process, same everything, but you can see how it loops around a whole lot, but it's not a big old knot. It's continuously progressing upwards, in this case, in our situation here, towards nirvana. Well, okay, that sounds pretty good. That could possibly be, but then something else crossed my mind. And I thought, you know what? We've got to think this through just a little bit better. There is something called the bell curve. It looks like this. Got this line right here, and you draw this curve on it. Okay, that's called a bell curve. What does that mean? Used in statistics and probability and things like that, it helps you map out things. Now, not all it's shaped like a bell and it's a curve, so it's called a bell curve, but not all bell curves look exactly like this. Some are just a molehill, some will have a real spike, other bell curves will have a double spike like a camel's back or something like that. But for simplicity here, we're going to use just the basic bell curve here, and we can think of this as being the human population from beginning to end over so many millennia or what have you. And what I think statistically, there would be a few people, maybe 1, 2, or 3 people throughout all of human history, maybe several million, I don't know, that would get it right on the first try. That one lifespan, they would just have it down. Somehow everything would work in their favor, and they'd go from being a little baby, living out their lives, to nirvana in one lifespan. Why not? Wouldn't it be possible? Statistically, we'd say that it would be. So those are the people over here. In one lifespan, pow, they're in nirvana, just like that. The great majority of us are going to be in here, according to the bell curve. The great majority of us are going to be somewhere in here, going through X number of lifespans. We don't know how many. Nobody seems to know how this actually works. But I assume that, probability speaking, the great majority of us will be somewhere in there. Well, what's at the other end of the bell curve? These poor guys. Over here, you have 1 or 2 or 3 individuals, maybe several millions, who knows, depends on what the bell curve actually looks like, which none of us can actually figure out. But there are going to be some people that never, ever, ever make it to nirvana. Statistically speaking, they never will. In other words, planet Earth will cease to exist. It'll be engulfed by a supergiant red sun, or whatever it's called, and there will be no more, or there will be a nuclear war or something like that. But regardless, they will never reach nirvana. What happens to them? They got cut off before they actually got the full run like everyone else did here, and they've got no nirvana. Is it just like poof and they're gone? Just poof, and they don't exist? Well, that doesn't seem quite right, because these people get to live in nirvana, these people get to live in nirvana or exist or whatever it is, but these ones don't. And I thought, well, that kind of defies logic to me. And I thought to myself, is that likely to happen? And then something else occurred to me. I heard somewhere that devout Hindus actually get a little annoyed by Westerners that adopt the idea of Eastern mysticism and Hinduism and such, and believe in karma and reincarnation, and then abuse it. Well, how so? Well, to a devout Hindu, your lifespan isn't meant to be something that you just live the way you want to live it, and then get to try it over again, and try it over again, and again and again and again. That's not the idea. To a devout Hindu, I believe, their idea is to get out of the cycle of life, to reach nirvana as fast as you can, and not to perpetuate your misery here on earth and living all these lifespans. And I thought to myself, if that's the the thing, then what are we really misunderstanding here? And I think if you were to take the word, reincarnation, running out of space here. If you take the word reincarnation, this here is, basically the meat of the word, quite literally. Carne, carna, carnivore, carnival. That all means meat. It means flesh. It means earthly. It means, your enfleshment, if you will. And I thought to myself, okay, well, there's a little connection here, I think. In other words, Americans and other Westerners seem to think that this is just a party. If you don't get it right this time, no big deal. Just do it again and again and again. And you're always having a good time. You're always doing the partying and the drinking and the carousing about and doing all this kind of stuff. It is kind of like, guess what? A carnival. Guess where that word comes from? Did I spell that right? I did. Carnival. It's a festival of the flesh. It's like, ooh, to a Christian mind, that does not sound too good. But so maybe what we ought to be calling this as Americans is Reincarnivalation, T-I-O-N, exclamation point. A Reincarnivalation instead of reincarnation. I think our Hindu friends would appreciate that more, because now we've changed the word into something that more accurately matches what an American thinks of it, and doesn't insult or abuse the original meaning of the word and where it comes from. So I think that might be something to think of here. Now, personally, I don't buy into reincarnation. It doesn't square, but I think I'll address that in a separate video. Well, thanks for listening. Take care. God bless.